Hey guys, welcome to an interesting video on Wild Rift. So today we're back with a summoner spell guide for ADC. Now, of course, I'm not really gonna talk about other roles because I basically more or less only play ADC. And in the current patch, a lot of changes have been made to multiple spells. Of course, we have heal, barrier, exhaust, all affected, and cleanse. Of course, got added to the game. All of which are options for ADCs. Of course, other than that, you also have Ghost and Ignite. So I'm going to be covering all of the options. Of course, one of your options is always going to be Flash, as in Flash is always going to be one of the spells you take. I'm talking about what other spell do you want to take. So I'm going to go through them all one by one. Now, first up, I'm going to start with the easiest one, Ignite. So I think you almost never want to go Ignite on ADC because generally all the other options I mentioned are all better. However, on a very niche scenario, some very aggressive early game ADCs like Draven or Lucian can actually take Ignite for the early game, but again, I don't recommend it. Now, the second least common one you probably are going to take on ADC is going to be heal. And why do I say that heal is probably not what you're going to want to take? Well, basically because if you guys can see here, Bearer has the same cooldown as heal, right? And heal gives you 110 health and movement speed, whereas Bearer gives you 120 shield that scales up to 560, whereas the heal scales up to 400. So heal is technically better in the sense that you are affecting two people, and it gives you movement speed as well. But as an ADC, you generally want to have the bearer, which is bigger, in order to protect yourself, against any incoming damage. So generally, bearer is what you're gonna want to take over heal, which is why I'm trying to say that heal is generally the inferior version to barrier when it comes to ADCs. Furthermore, barrier you can use when you're at full health when you know an incoming combo is coming, whereas heal you cannot. And sometimes, let's say you get chain CC and one shot, heal is not going to help you at all, whereas barrier is. So, however, on the off chance that you do want to take heal and your support's not taking it, then you can of course go for that. So now we're gonna move on to the main options, which are I'm gonna call the top four options. It's basically gonna be Ghost, barrier, exhaust, as well as cleanse. So essentially, um, for Ghost, you want to mainly, of course, all these options are situational, right? Firstly, all these options are situational, whichever ADC you are playing. Bearer and Exhaust are actually very, very similar, and this is what I would mainly differentiate the two of them. So they have the same cooldown. Now, at this point, pretty much all summoner spells have the same cooldown. You can see 100 seconds, 100 seconds, 100 seconds, and 100 seconds. Ignite, 100 seconds as well. So every summoner spell has the same cooldown. Let's check out Ghost. Ghost 90 seconds, so I guess slight advantage for Ghost there. But essentially, between Bearer and Exhaust, I think that what you really are going for is Exhaust is really more for assassins. Now, why do I say that? Because when assassins want to jump onto you and you exhaust them, their full combo is going to be exhausted. Whereas if you barrier and they full combo you, you're going to take like what 120 to 560 less damage, but you're still going to take the full brunt of the damage. So against assassins, exhaust is way more effective than barrier. So if you're looking for a defensive option against assassins, it's going to be exhaust. Now, where barrier really shines is actually in lane. Now, in lane, barrier is actually really amazing. Um, like in the early levels, because 120 shield in the early levels is huge considering your health bar at level like 1 or 5 is really small, and extra 120 is really huge in the early game. Now I have to admit that in the later part of the game the shield is still really decent, but I think that barrier is just a lot for the lane, and it's gonna come that is that kind of summoner spell where you in lane you can bait someone into a fight and they think you're gonna kill you, and then you barrier at the last moment and you kill them instead. I think that's really the best part about barrier. Whereas exhaust is really good for assassins, and it's also good in lane. Like I mean, we have an exhaust meta in the bot lane for so long now. You guys should probably know that when you get exhausted, you get your damage cut by a ton, and of course, the slow has been cut by a lot. But I really think that the slow is not really a very big deal for not really not. Okay, we can't say it's not a big deal, but it's not the main component of exhaust that is what makes exhaust good, right? The part that makes exhaust good is the damage cutting. So really between barrier and exhaust, that is kind of what you need to weigh. So next up, we're going to talk about Ghost and Cleanse. So really, first let's talk about Ghost. So Ghost is a good option for ADCs who need movement speed. And honestly, I think on some ADCs, I think Ghost is still going to be the go-to option. Now, who are those? Let's take a look here. So I think for ADCs, people who still want to take Ghost, I think Vayne, or I don't want to tap it. So Vayne, Jinx definitely still wants to take Ghost, I would feel majority of the time. Other champions such as Zeri definitely want to take Ghost probably a lot of the time as well. Sivir as well. I would say that probably Vayne, Jinx, Zeri, and Sivir, Ghost is still going to be the default. But then some other champions such as Jhin, Ashe, and Twitch and Varus, probably Ghost is still gonna be maybe first and slash second choice, depending on like who you are facing and how many assassins there are, what's your laning matchup, things like that. But I think that on those four champions I mentioned, Vayne, Jinx, Zeri, and Sivir, you probably have for Ghost as your first choice. So finally, we have Cleanse. So Cleanse, of course, is a very situational spell. It's really good against disables, which means, which means CC, roots, knockups, any kind of CC. You can also cleanse, ignite, and exhaust. So any disables, basically slows everything. It can be cleansed. So cleanse, obviously, you only want to take it when there is, a good amount of CC, and this is actually the hard counter to certain spells. So for example, Ashe, right? Ashe arrow is hard countered by cleanse because when you get hit by the arrow, you just cleanse it, and you're gonna be all good. So that is really one of the best uses of cleanse, like when you have a big CC to hit you, Morgana root for example, Ashe arrow, things like that is where cleanse comes in. So as you guys can see, basically you want to take cleanse against CC, exhaust against assassins, barrier for the lane, and ghost just for more mobility. So it's really kind of situational which one of these four you really want to take, and it's kind of an experience basis and also a preference basis. But this is basically the basic concept of ADC summoner spells. So with all that said, thank you guys so much for watching the video, and goodbye.